How is your pee break?
My pee break?
It might flash you. Understand?
Random baby.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I, too, am a thought criminal. Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
But how much do you actually understand money? Especially the new wave. Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor. If you feel like a fat bitch and you know it, clap your hands. If you feel like a fat bitch and you know it, clap your hands. Guys, welcome back from Thanksgiving. Wow, what a time, what a weekend. First of all, last week's ep, talk about a time, right? I mean, fueled not by bourbon, which is ultimately like plot twist, what most of you in the end voted for me to have in hand that night, but whiskey and coffee. But what a fired up time that was. I've been in a carb coma ever since. You guys know I keep things tight, with Operation Sex Goddess Body. And I went on a little carbcation this weekend. And so, yes, I am feeling like a fat, sloppy bitch, but unlike most of the women in today's society, it seems, which is also another plot twist, because what happened to body positivity? It is nowhere to be seen. Just like, if Ariana turns a certain way on the right, she's nowhere to be seen. I mean, nothing is to be seen anywhere because nobody's fat anymore. But tonight's episode isn't about that. But it is kind of crazy, right? I have been seeing the funniest memes because they're promoting Cynthia Arevio and Michelle, what's her last name? And the awesome Asian one who's in Crazy Rich Asians, and Ariana Grande are promoting Wicked. And like literally they are all the size of this pen combined. Like, I don't know what is happening, but I've seen the funniest memes that are like, Thanksgiving on the set of Wicked, and it's like AP on a plate. But seriously, no one's fat anymore. And I got into a whole debate with Rob Nelson Live about this off air, because especially the pro body positivity gals now, the Amy Schumers, the Meghan Trainors of it all, the Lizzos even, and like good for them. They all look great. It's just so funny that now everybody's calling it out. Like, what happened, ladies? I thought that it was like big and beautiful no matter what the size is the prize. And I got in a debate with Rob because I said, Rob, I think that when they were pushing that, I really do believe that they bought in. They were bought into that. And Rob is really insistent, like, no, because the minute they could change it now with, these Ozempics, the shots, and look, I ain't judging, right? It is what it is. It's not my speed, but I just like to suffer. What can I just like to suffer in the gym for 2 hours, but what do I know? He's like, they could change it on a dime, and then they did, right? So deep down, they wanted to be more fit or thinner or whatever it was. And now they got the out and they took it. So maybe they never even believed it really deep down. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, but I digress because we are not here. There's a lot of shit going on. Everything is upside down. And that is not alluding to, by the way, the Stranger Things finale, which I am making my way through. Like I am in the fucking upside down myself. I'm like, why to the brothers who make the show is every episode 2 hours? Like, guys, we have lives to lead, but everything is upside down. Men, women, all this, the body positivity, that is no more. Now, if you say anything about them being too skinny, that's wrong too. Like, I don't even know. It's like the heroin chic of the 90s could never. They are shaking. And we're going to focus a little bit on the men today. Yep, that's right. So with all that's going on with the ladies, so we may or may not get to that at another time, but I have a very unique guest on tonight's episode, and it's very, I think, refreshing for you guys. It's not my usual speed. It's not someone in the public eye per se. Well, not him directly, but someone who was close to him. In fact, he's the bloodline of this person you may or may not have heard of. But this man in particular is not in the public eye, not a celebrity influencer, all of that, which is why I thought it'd be all the more refreshing, right? Because we're kind of like sick of these fuckers. Like, who cares? But he crossed my path. We'd had a personal phone call. I heard his whole story and I thought, I think my viewers could, take something from this. And you know me, I always look big picture. So between his really fascinating story, his family, his iconic for better or worse family tree, and even his journey as a man, I thought, wow, we talk so much about how men are struggling right now in the dynamic between men and masculinity, like finding their way, and the incels and the gripers of the web and everybody else who's normal and just all of it, right? And being on the right track and just being a good, strong man. So I thought, let's look at that on the whole, the nature of that, culturally and in society, and also how media portrays this man's famous family. Specifically, someone you may have heard of, Pablo Escobar. So I sit down in this chat with Mitch Escobar, whose grandfather's brother was Pablo. And so we talk all about it. And again, how his story really kind of pertains to these bigger things and these themes and what we see unfolding and going on right now. So I thought, it's a little bit of change of pace, a little bit, refreshing and just super real. You can tell he's very real, based in Southern California. And I thought, let's let her rip. We did shoot this last week. So I was like, I don't know if Pablo Escobar is giving Thanksgiving vibes, but here we are a few days later. And you better be on time, better late than never. So without further ado, and you guys are going to see, by the way, we were about 8 minutes through the interview and all of a sudden this Colombian drug lord poltergeist literally hijacked the stream. So the only other time that happened is when I was talking to Joy Villa about the Diddy parties. So I don't know if someone somewhere, something somewhere, some entity doesn't want Mitch Escobar talking. But we picked right back up. So I'm going to play it all. None of this is edited. So you can decide for yourselves. And without further ado, my really interesting talk with Mitch Escobar, you all enjoy. See you on the other side. If you make it, if you dare. Okay, everybody. I have somebody very different entering the chat today. A little treat for you and a little name you may or may not recognize, last name that is a little something like Escobar. Ring a bell? Maybe? Well, I am joined by Mitch Escobar. He is Pablo's great nephew. We were just doing the math, okay, off air, and the math is mathing. So Mitch's grandfather's brother was Pablo Escobar. And I met Mitch and I thought, come in the chat because he told me his story. It's fascinating. And I think it'll just be something different and refreshing for you guys. And also so much to touch on when it comes to, his journey and masculinity and the media and all of it. So Mitch, welcome to my domain. Some good looking jeans going on over there in the Escobar jean. I gotta say, this is our first time meeting face to face. So I see the little badass tattoo going on. Oh, he's like this little thing. Welcome to the chat. It's good to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Where are you taking us in your car this evening?
I mean, I'm actually out here in Temecula in the wine country area. My brother-in-law's out here. They just bought a new home, so I just came out here to help them out for a little bit.
Okay.
So, beautiful Temecula.
Well, you and I had a call and you told me a lot of your background and your journey and your story, which is so fascinating. But off of the bat, for my viewers, tell us why you did choose to keep and you're married now with a family, but you chose to keep your last name, which I'm sure, in day-to-day interactions, people ask you questions, which we'll get to. And I know Pablo's even immediate family, right? Who survives him, be it kids, siblings, his wife, some are very public, some are under the radar. So, talk to us about keeping the famous last name and what that's like.
I mean, keeping it, I guess I pretty much had no choice. My mom hyphenated my last name, Escobar dash Tamayo. And so growing up, I had to go off of Escobar in my youth years, and then as an adult, legally, through the DMV and everything, it's Escobar. I mean, it's Tamayo.
Okay.
So it kind of helped out a lot. Um, my dad went to prison at a young age for me for over 10 years, for selling cocaine. So in my early adult years, I would get pulled over all the time, by undercover cops, narcotics, just because they would run my plate, and Escobar would pop up, and it would show that I have a parent that's incarcerated in a federal prison. I mean, I never got or had anything on me, but I did get investigated several times for the first like 5 years, when he was locked up and when I turned 18. So, yeah, I went through that for a little bit. Um, but keeping the last name was just something that, um, I mean, my dad kind of raised me to like represent my last name at maybe 14 years old. I really didn't know much about my family history. Um, my parents were all from Medellin, Colombia. They're all born and raised out there.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom ended up splitting up with my dad when I was 5 years old. And we had already been born in America, and that was her
Right.
dream, right? um just to kind of paraphrase, I guess, a little bit from what we talked about, but so that the viewers know, my parents were born in Colombia. I was actually living in Colombia, but I was born in East LA, and that was my mom's dream, was to be have her kids in America. And during the 80s, my dad made it happen for her, right? So me and my older sister Jessica, we were born in East LA in the same hospital, Garfield Hospital, but we actually lived in Colombia.
So it's so fascinating too, Mitch, your story, because like you said, you didn't even discover your family's past until you were what, a teenager, late teens, I think you'd
Well, yeah,
said. And
like
then
fourteen.
you were what?
I was like 14
You were
years old.
14. Okay. Wait, so you said that your dad raised you with a sense of pride for the family, for the last name. Pride in which sense? Do you mean in the dream of coming to America? Do you mean it like, he's like, no, not that. No,
No,
tell us.
no, just the last name. And I didn't understand growing up. He would say things like you're an Escobar. You don't even know that yet.
Wow.
Right? You're an
Wow.
Escobar. You know what I mean? Like he would say stuff like that. And I mean, I was little. This was before I even knew what
You
was up,
didn't
but
even know. Yeah, you had
I
no
didn't even
idea.
know. Right. So when I was like 14 and I found out like what the whole thing meant and everything, I went and got, Pablo Escobar tattooed on my back with the map of Colombia because I thought it was cool.
Do you still have it? Can you do
Yeah.
like a Magic Mike strip tease in your car and show us a peek? Or
Uh, I mean, I don't
oh,
know if
he's
I
like,
can.
I'm not above it. Oh,
I don't know.
stop. Oh,
I
it
don't,
is
I
a
don't know.
lot.
I don't know if you can see a little bit
Oh,
of
we
that, but
saw. Oh, we
uh,
saw.
I mean,
Wow.
in my early teens, after I got it, I like 15 years old, I regretted it, but it is what it is now. It's not coming
You're
off, and
keeping
I'm not
it.
gonna. Yeah,
You're
I'm
keeping it.
keeping it. It is, yeah.
So what
So,
did you know at the time? Do you remember? I mean, I know 14, 15, it's, kind of shoddy,
so
but oh, crap. Power's out. Oh no. Shoot. Okay, everybody, we're back. Mitch, what don't the ghosts of the drug lords want you to be talking about tonight? The last time my power just went out, everybody, mid talk. The last time this happened was when Joy Villa came on and we were talking about Diddy parties. Mitch, is you something you want to tell us? Something the spirits are trying to keep you from talking about, revealing here on my show?
I mean, I felt the same thing as soon as it went out. I was like, okay, what is it that you don't want me to say? So, but there's a lot, I guess. Whatever you want to know, I'm open.
Well, all right, let's take it back for just a minute because we saw your tattoo and it's like
Yeah.
Pablo himself was like talking to us in a 3D version of your tattoo there that's alive and well, like I said. But you, again, before even knowing about your family. You, even as a teen, Mitch, right? You kind of had a little bit, you were in a little bit of trouble here and there. I remember you were telling me your story. I was like, you were a hot mess, Mitch. Like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Now, what was that? What lent itself to, was it just the environment? Again, this is before knowing anything. And what did you really learn from it, you know? And how did even learning about Pablo, the tattoo, the whole thing, like allow you to evolve in your journey in such informative years? I mean, when you're a teenage boy, right?
Right. I mean, as a kid, I was raised to never take crap from anybody. It was just like a Colombian thing, you know what I mean? Growing up, we just, you know, just to, keep it real, you're not a little bitch, right? That was the word that they used a lot, and they would tell me
Okay.
that. So I can't let myself um get taken over by anybody in any means or ways, right? So it was always revenge and getting back and getting
Wow.
even, and that was the mindset growing up, and that came from Colombia. All my aunts, all my grandparents, all my family, and so coming to America, um, English was my second language, right?
Okay.
And I started kindergarten in Spanish, and then it was nothing in California. There's a lot of Mexicans. There wasn't very many Colombians when I was growing up in the area. Um, so when I got transitioned into first grade, I started doing English, and it was very different for me. So even the words and the things that people said were different. So I mean, I kind of got sidetracked for a second,
It's
but
like
like,
survival. It's so crazy because it's like, in a way, it's sort of like the attitude mindset that with inadvertently and indirectly was almost like passed to you. If that's what's like the whole thing of like, don't be a bitch, you know, like face
yeah.
it head on, all that, right? With
So,
again, without even knowing, which is kind of crazy.
so my stepfather, right? He was with us until I was 11 years old, and like I said before, he was my dad's California connect. So my mom basically left my dad for my dad's friend, right? And it
Hmm.
was it was crazy. So there was beef, right? They didn't like each other. My dad was after him, and in a way they would talk crap, they would say stuff to each other, and my stepdad was scared of him. He feared for his life. So there was precautions. I remember living with him, big window on the main entrance door and cameras all over the place, and he carried guns and stuff, and
Wow.
anybody that ding dong ditched our house or anything, he thought it was my dad. He thought it was my dad sending people. So, and he would say things because it was my dad, and he ended up having another kid with my mom. He would say things to me like, "You're just like your father, and you're just like him, and this and
Wow.
that," right?
Wow.
So I didn't get a lot of respect and love from my stepfather. Today, rest in peace. He passed away from cancer in 2018. But
Mhm.
um, so I was raised, pretty much bullied by my own family, in a sense. So I went through a lot of traumatic stuff. He used to whoop our butts a lot. I know he did a lot of cocaine himself and stuff. So he
Wow.
would be very angry, and I even think he would beat my mom, like, secretly. My mom would like hide it. Um, and when they split up, I had a single mom for years. So I went through my whole juvenile with a single mom, a single parent. It was just
Yeah.
me and my sister in a one-bedroom apartment. And we were raised around Mexicans. And my sister clinged on to homies and gang members and people that were involved in some really bad stuff. So the fact that we were Escobar and Colombian, the Mexicans loved it. They love that. They fed off of
Wow.
that. They're like, oh, these guys are Colombian.
I bet so many people not having the extensive family that you have could relate to that story. And even
Right.
how it's informed them now as an adult. And again, this sort of like fight or flight and survival mode of it all. And I'm curious, Mitch, what happened for you? It's so fascinating. You're like 14, or you're young, you're all, full of pride, you get the tattoo. So I'm curious. I think this is when the ghosts of Colombia, someone came and took over our stream here, but what I was getting at. But what did you know at the time that made you, again, you kind of said that mindset of like, not, I'm not to be fucked with, whatever, that had you get it. But then what did you learn that made you wish that, you said shortly after you were 15 or something, you wish you hadn't gotten it?
I I didn't want to go to prison. It's plain out, I after my dad went to prison, I was actually in juvenile hall serving like a year term, and it was like mid sentencing. It was like 6 months in. My dad got busted for 10 years, and I didn't see him like again. So they took me on a prison tour, and I'll never forget it. And I walked the
Uh,
yard with a bunch of lifers, and they were showing me like, if you keep doing what you're doing, this is where you're going to end up.
yeah, yeah,
And I couldn't help but
exactly.
I
Like
couldn't
it's
help but
not
just
fun and
think of my
games.
right.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
dad's already in this, and
yeah.
I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to. I couldn't imagine myself being there. I didn't have any kids at the time, but I just didn't want to be there. And just to be transparent, there was a guy that was showing us like what they would call booty bandits, and he's like, "There's no females in here. This is what you see in here. These are the girls, and they're dudes."
Oh
So,
no.
and I'm just being transparent, right? So for me at the time, I'm like,
That'll
"Oh,
straighten you up, no
there's
pun
no girls
intended.
here." I'm like, "I don't want to be here. There's no girls here." So that was just my mindset at the time. So I didn't want to be there. And I remember being in front of about 15 other kids that were there that day. And they're like, "Does anybody want to say anything?" And I raised my hand, and I was like, I looked around the room, and I was like, "I could honestly tell you guys right now that I'm probably the only one that's not going to end up here." And I
Wow.
didn't.
It is
I
so
didn't.
funny though, the primal male drive and impulse. Like there are no girls here. I am out. No, but
Yeah.
yeah, that'll change you. That'll change you. Now, who was, and I was doing some reading too. Do you know who was which of Pablo's siblings, brothers was what was your grandpa's name?
His name was Luis.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and one
Luis
of the
Escobar.
things too when we first talked, Mitch, was the misconceptions, right? Like I had even read, I mean Pablo Escobar, I read he was pocketing like 70 million a day. And did you know this? Like apparently there were like hiding billions of dollars in the walls to where the rats were eating the money. And so when I met you, I was like, I know that it's, your great nephew and it's not immediate, but I was like, are you sitting on a dynasty of all the like people must assume that? And you were like, that is fake news, basically. So what are some misconceptions that people ask you, or even Mitch, if it's like you said, people sometimes like if it's a barista or someone in the grocery, whatever, who catches their attention with the last name, like what are some just things that they ask or they get wrong or they don't get?
I mean, when I get carded, I still get carded, believe it or not, and I'm actually kind of grateful. I'm 37, but when they see that my last name's Escobar or DMV and stuff, just certain people will be like, "Oh, you're not related to Pablo, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And then they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah," but I just kind of leave it like that. I know they don't believe me, but I don't need to sit there and tell them
Convince them.
anything. Yeah, I don't need to convince them. It happened to me just yesterday too. I was at the grocery store, and the counter lady asked to see my ID,
Yeah.
and yeah, she's like, "Are you related to Pablo?" And I'm like, "I actually am." And she's like, "No way, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, cool." And then just kept eyeballing me like weird. She didn't say much
That's
afterwards.
funny.
Um, but my dad told me he lost personally $6 million in the Bank of Noriega. He was involved in all that. So they did have a lot of money at the time. I was too young to like, witness it, I guess you could say, maybe 2 or 3 years old. My dad had put a big trust fund for me and my sister to get when we turned 18. And because my mom left my dad, the Escobar family from my grandpa and all the other side, they, forged my mom's signatures and robbed her of everything. She owned a bunch of houses and cars and houses in Colombia, Florida, and California, and they took everything.
Wow. I have a question for you, and it's totally fine if you don't even want to go here. It literally just struck me, and it is airs on the side of being more political. But given like, you're from Colombia, your mom's American dream, even how you're like, my sister got involved with, the Mexicans who were all stoked on like, the family and all this and what was going on. Like, even seeing everything happening with the mess of like, you know, immigration and ICE and all that, I have to imagine, and especially you're in California, right, where the epicenter of so much of it is, at least on the news, like I have to imagine that it makes you feel a certain way, whatever that way is. But I'm curious, you know.
I mean, my dad crossed the border illegally 5 separate times that I'm
Okay.
aware of. You know, my mom actually did it right, and it took her about 25, almost 30 years to get her citizenship. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. My mom
yeah.
immigrated legally as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so and my mom, I honest to God will say that, she helped a lot of people cross the border illegally. It is what it is. But that was back in the day and people would pay a lot of money to do it, and there was a lot of connections there and it just came easy. I mean,
Yeah.
today I'm married to a white girl from Cleveland, Ohio, and her parents are like they think that's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, like, even it's funny because I find that people who, it's so funny, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants and are here now living the American dream, they're like, they're the ones who are so like enforce it, like do it the right way and get in line like everybody else. Like stop he's nodding, right? It's like stop stepping on our jobs and like our space here. But I think because there's a sort of appreciation that maybe it's the white girls from I'm from Connecticut suburbia or your wife, but like there's a sort of like grit and appreciation that maybe we don't have, right? That I think immigrants are like, it's sort of funny. It's like you wouldn't think it, but it's like get in line and do it the right way. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that, yeah, yeah,
That's just how it's been though, right? I think the longevity, once people are around someone and I'm first generation here, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
got 5 kids,
yeah.
and they all look weddles. They're all white with blue eyes. Most of them are, you know what I mean? So
Yes,
it's okay. I mean, one of my
that's
daughters,
funny.
Sadie, is like super white with beautiful blue eyes, but she tells everybody that she's Colombian. She's like, I'm not white, I'm Colombian.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. That's the thing these days. It's like you have to lean into the minority strengths. I'm like, I'm half first generation on no, I'm first generation on one side, and a Jew and a woman. What anything? Anybody? No? No, but all right. So lastly here is you did turn your life around. You didn't end up there, like you said. And you built family of your own and kids. And I know you have dreams to work with kids and impact them. And kind of like we talked about, masculinity on the whole right now is a bit broken. These guys are lost in the sauce. So what would you offer them advice wise, whether it be from your journey and, what you learned, and what do you feel like is broken right now with these young guys, and, how would you advise them?
I think it's mindset, right? And it's who, something I was taught when I was a kid and I didn't really understand until later on is in Spanish I would always get from all my uncles and everybody is dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres. And it's tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are, right? And I was around a certain way of thinking my whole life growing up, and it kept me in that state of mind, and the people around me were in that same state of mind, so the same results came to all of us for the most part, right? Today I'm 37 years old. I've been married for 13 years. I have a beautiful wife named Bree Escobar, and we have 5 healthy children, and they're incredible. They're amazing. I talk to them with words that can show power, to uplift people and to encourage and to sharpen. I get involved. I've been involved in youth. I've been coaching football for 10 years straight, tackle football. And my wife is a cheer director for an all-stars program. So she does super well in that, and just building a legacy for my family on a
Mm-hmm.
different terms than, dealing drugs or retaliation or that revenge mindset that I grew up with, because
Yeah.
it comes from the old country. It comes from our country, right? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
just I met a guy. This just came to my mind. I met a guy named JT from Houston, Texas, years ago. I would say about like 9 years ago, and he introduced me to a prayer call. And I used to, I actually met him in Philadelphia years ago. I went to this international convention, and we linked up, and he was half Colombian and half black. And so we kind of like clicked, and he invited me on this prayer call. It was a 15-minute call, and all it was just a straight prayer, just a good little motivation at 6:15 in the morning. And I listened to that for a full year, and it changed my thinking. It
Mm-hmm.
literally just changed my thinking. And because I listened to that for a full year, I met Bree. I have my oldest is from a different relationship, and her mom is Mexican from Jalisco, and I dated nothing but Hispanic women growing up. And when I changed my thinking, my perspective started to change, and the things around me started to change, the people around me started to change, and the opportunities started to change. And I still to this day know people who have not changed and are still going through stuff that we were going through when we were in our early 20s or in our youth. And it's the thinking, right? So the message I would send to people is who do you hang out with? Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you listening to? What are you talking about? Because your words are so important and can impact somebody in a really positive and pleasing way, or in a very negative and hurtful way. So
Mm-hmm.
check yourself, have a little bit of self-control, and just and have fun, right? But at the same time, just be careful. that's
Yeah.
that's the message I would
That's
I
really
would
good
share.
advice. And you're also living proof, because there's a whole corner of the internet right now that I don't even know if you want to look at, but otherwise known as like the incels or whatever, who are so insecure and just trying to, totally like shit on women and make them
Yeah,
inferior and all this. And you're living
it's
proof.
terrible.
It's terrible. And it was so sweet when we talked on the phone. You talked about even how your wife like helped turn your life, like made your life right, and gave it so much purpose. So so I love to see that, because there's no strength in what they're like, it's nothing but weakness, like, and
I
insecurity and like hurt.
I mean, I was just talking to, I wouldn't say debating, but I was just kind of talking to my brother-in-law about this, and he's talking about how men are so superior over women and this and that. And I'm like, I kind of changed the subject and started talking about my son. And I'm like, my son's 13 years old. And if you talk to Gabriel, he's a very respectful, outspoken, and he speaks his mind, but with clarity, right? And the way he
Yeah,
treats people is such
I
a
love
good thing
that.
to see. And it's only because of the way he sees me talk to people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If he saw me get upset with people often, or curse at people when they're not looking and stuff like that, he would do the same thing even if I wasn't there.
yeah,
But
yeah,
because he doesn't see me do that and the way I treat people, he treats people with respect
yeah,
and love and kindness, and
yeah.
and respects what they have to say, even if it's something he doesn't agree with.
Yeah, I think that's like the perfect way to end it. I love that you've sort of encapsulated this duality of, wearing, quite literally in your case, like wearing your family and history and legacy on your sleeve, the good, the bad, the ugly, and forming the new. And I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful. In all seriousness, I think it's beautiful that your kids are so proud of their Colombian heritage. I'm the same way with my heritage. There's something about it, because it's like, the basic white bitch, not to insult your wife, but I'm saying, like, there's something, it's like we got a little flavor that they don't quite we can let them in on. But no,
Love
and
it.
also, I think that you, like, when I speak about the duality as well, I think it sort of captures something so human. Like, even looking to Pablo a little bit, right? And the duality there. Not to glorify a drug lord, but even it's like, the contradiction of how he would, fund hospitals yet was so violent. I'm watching a new documentary about the American Revolution, and even like the founding fathers, how they were all about liberty and freedom yet had slaves. It's like this human contradiction all the time. So I think that there's just something so fascinating and timeless in that. But all that to say, again, what you've done and sort of like like I said, owning that past and creating the new is something really, it's a great, role model and something I hope, young men and people see. So
I
thank
want to
you.
share something last thing about Pablo because this just came to my mind and
Sure.
I'll never forget it. When I was like 17 years old, and my dad had already been in there for a little while, and just because he would call me from prison and just code words after code words and talk about big fish and little fish, and I need you to go to this place because they got a gym, and this gym, I think you'd be great at it. Bring a friend that that you could trust and respect, and you and your friend could go to that gym and meet big fish, and big fish is going to introduce you to little bird, and little bird's going to give you guys this truck that you guys are going to take flowers and oranges from California to Florida. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and I knew, I knew what he was talking about, but he wanted me to get involved. And I
Wow.
did not want to be
Wow.
involved.
Wow.
I did not want to be involved.
Wow. And here you are.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
would have
telling
been.
this story and not, the prison story, which even from your
Exactly.
visit, we
Yeah.
so good.
No,
So
bueno.
Mitch, thank you so much. So
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for sharing and being transparent. And now, if you don't mind, and dealing, by the way, you were such a trooper with the power outage and all that, and hopping back on. And I'm now going to hire an exorcist to get whatever spirits out of my studio.
Bless you.
What was that?
I said, I bless you through
Yeah,
here.
perfect. Perfect. I'll take it. Mitch, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
So
You have a
fun.
wonderful night. Thank
You as
you,
well.
Taylor.
Talk soon. Bye.
All right. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Chris, how was your pee break?
My pee break.
They might flash you on TikTok.
Random baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I too am a thought criminal. Good. Well, I like you
Does
already.
this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
messing around?
But how much do you actually understand money, especially the new wave?
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor.